Jenkyns News Channel.
Good evening, I'm Sophia Wensler with your headlines at 6 o'clock. Ukraine's President Zelensky is reportedly ready to call a referendum on Donald Trump's peace plan if Russia agrees to a ceasefire. It comes after Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed he will be meeting with the US president on Sunday. Meanwhile, Donald Trump says the US has carried a powerful and deadly strikeout on what he called the Islamic State scum in Nigeria. The US president took coordinated action with Nigeria's military after accusing the group of persecuting Christians in the region. Nigeria's Foreign Minister Yusuf Maitama-Tuga said the strike was a joint operation targeting terrorists and he did not rule out any further strikes. Police are urging beachgoers not to swim as two men in their 60s and 40s are still missing after getting into difficulty off the coast of Devon on Christmas Day. They went missing in the water in Budleigh, Salterton, but the search for the men has now been called off. A senior Conservative peer has urged Sir Keir Starmer to give Reform UK a seat in the House of Lords. Lord Trew told the Daily Telegraph that Reform winning seats in the House of Commons meant their view should be heard in the Lords as well. Hunt supporters have vowed to fight Sir Keir Starmer's plan to ban trail hunting as thousands gathered to watch the traditional Boxing Day hunting today. The government's plans to ban trail hunting under their animal welfare strategy published shortly before Christmas. Trail hunting means hounds follow a pre-laid scent instead of chasing a live animal, but critics argue the sport is being used as a smokescreen for illegal hunting. Now, Britain has seen a really positive start to Boxing Day, with footfall up in shopping centres. Analysts say early data shows more people spending the bank holiday at retail parks than last year. Boxing Day is one of the busiest shopping days of the year, with customers expected to spend £3.6 billion in today's sales. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you in an hour.
Welcome to the Year in Politics 2025 with me, Christopher Hope, GB News' political editor. We're almost at the end of the year, but how much can you remember? We've got two special shows where we'll take you through the best moments in this year through our eyes at GB News. I'm joined in the studio by my two friends, Kevin Maguire from the Daily Mirror and Claire Ellicott from the Daily Mail. I'm also joined by a very marvellous Christmas tie made for me by my daughter. I hope you both enjoyed it.
That's great.
You wouldn't know, looking at Kevin Maguire, it was actually Christmas outside. You're marking it with a very unfestive blue shirt, jeans and a jacket. Do you hate Christmas?
Got to work.
I'm going to say, I mean, Claire Ellicott is resplendent in a red dress. She's showing we are actually in the season, and the Christmas tree behind us, of course, is showing we are actually having a good Christmas period. Thank you both for joining us, Kevin Maguire, Claire Ellicott. More from you in a second. Also got a wonderful 12 days of Christmas bloopers, the funniest moments of the year as seen by GB News. Here's the first one.
Pull that out.
Yes, and nor did I shoot JFK. I don't know where Lord Lucan is. Had nothing to do with Shergar. And I do think that the US did manage to do the moon landings. I don't think they were faked.
That's Wes Streeting saying what he didn't do. He didn't say he wasn't going to be Labour leader. Perhaps that's one for the future. But Wes Streeting there giving us an absolute comedy moment about why he wasn't going to stand against Keir Starmer for that leadership. This was the first day after briefings about him wanting to get rid of the PM. But let's go to the first of our 3-month roundups.
Take over, Elon, yes, take over.
The year started with the world's richest man, Elon Musk, getting involved in the grooming gang scandal, which had been repeatedly raised by GB News national reporter Charlie Peters.
Calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right, then that affects politics.
He won't listen.
to the victims who are calling for a national inquiry.
The Prime Minister rejected a national inquiry, but was then pushed to set up local reviews around the country.
Effective local inquiries can delve into far more local detail and deliver more locally relevant answers and change than a lengthy nationwide inquiry can provide.
It was something that Reform UK MPs were not happy about, but Reform had its own drama at the start of the year when a civil war broke out between its leader Nigel Farage and one of his own MPs, Rupert Lowe, ending in Mr Lowe losing the party whip. Yet the party's polling was unaffected as it opened up a large lead over the main parties for the first time. But Reform wasn't the only ones who were engulfed in internal drama. Tulip Siddiq resigned as a Labour government minister, another minister, Andrew Gwynn, was sacked, and Mike Amesbury, a backbench MP, was jailed after he pled guilty to common assault and had his sentence suspended.
I'm now going to go and see my family. I look at what I've done and I don't recognise myself. I say sorry. My son, I've gone from hero, to zero. I've altered things from my family and a few moments of absolute madness.
But he then stood down as an MP, triggering a by-election in Runcorn and Helsby at the same time as the May local elections. Annalise Dodds then quit as a cabinet minister over the cut to international aid. In terms of the economy, growth remained sluggish, but at least Rachel Reeves would remain as Chancellor for the entire Parliament, even if the PM took a while to give that commitment to her.
And yes or no, will Rachel Reeves be your Chancellor at the next general election?
I am confident in our mission for growth, and I'm completely confident in my team.
The Chancellor then delivered her spring statement with huge sums spent on infrastructure and defence. And it was definitely not a return to austerity. Oh no.
Well, it's not austerity because we're increasing the amount of money we're putting into our public services.
The budget last October was a once-in-a-generation budget. It was needed to wipe the slate clean.
The government then started its cull of quangos, starting with one of the biggest, NHS England.
It must be so painful watching a Labour government doing the things that they only ever talked about, reducing the size of bloated state bureaucracy, investing in defence, reforming our public services, bringing down the welfare bill. The public are asking, what is the point of the Conservative Party? I bet they're glad they chose change with Labour.
And on the international stage, Sir Keir Starmer handed over to Donald Trump in the Oval Office a very important royal invitation.
So can I present the letter from the King?
And Donald Trump took a surprising shine to me.
Yeah, on a personal level.
He's got such a nice face.
Oh, mate.
He's smiling, but watch, he'll ask a total killer. He'll learn him a long time. Yeah. They're the ones that get you. No,
but the mood had darkened somewhat barely a week later in the Oval Office when Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky met with Donald Trump. And the meeting, frankly, was a disaster.
Not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
You're
playing cards. You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Well, that was a lot in the first months of this year. Let's talk about Donald Trump and Keir Starmer's bromance. Claire Ellicott, is it real?
I think, it's as real as any of these things are. I think Donald Trump will tolerate him as long as he keeps inviting him to state visits and being friendly to him. And it helps, I think, that he has this silent ally in the United Kingdom who never, ever hits back against anything he says. So Donald Trump can talk about Sadiq Khan, a very close ally of Keir Starmer, and he doesn't say a word. I know Labour MPs cringe, but, it's Keir's playbook now.
Because the special relationship matters so much, perhaps the personalities doesn't matter the same way.
I think it plays well for the public. I think the public want to see him not criticising Donald Trump. And, we've got something of a trade deal, if not a proper trade deal, as promised.
It's to be improved on, isn't it, of course? That's later this year. Kevin Maguire, though, there's danger here, isn't there, for a left-wing Prime Minister being close to a right-wing US president.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a bit like the bullied and the bully, but instead of having your dinner money stolen, you're given some of it, and hoping you can keep some of it back. Which Keir Starmer, I think, arguably here does actually put country before party, because there's no doubt with much of the country and the Labour Party, it'd be more popular if you just called out Trump. But it may not be good for Britain in trying to get rid of some of the worst of the tariffs, trying to keep some support from Trump for Ukraine, just accepting that he's the most powerful political figure in the world.
Yes.
Do you want to go for a full war with him, or do you want a quiet war? But
that's one for 2026.
Yeah, you watch it. Look, I'm a Republican, but the prostitution of the royal family, the way they were
being
used, made me feel.
That's outrageous. You're saying that it's soft power being used for our national need, isn't it?
Look, we've seen them in the past, where Ceausescu, the dictator in Romania, and Vladimir Putin, they were forced to put up with him, the old queen. But you've got to feel sorry for Charles when Trump stands for everything this king is.
Attacking those windmills, Carol.
Well, the environment. They're polar opposites, aren't they?
It's not great, is it, for the king?
I know, and, when he was the Prince, he spent all of his time scribbling notes to various government departments, trying to kind of interfere in politics, and now he's got to put a brave face on it and just be, the person who represents the UK and champions soft power.
Kevin McCarthy, been here before. I mean, the old days, Tony Blair was Bush's poodle. Of course, and on the flip side is Obama, Democratic president with David Cameron, a Tory prime minister.
That wasn't so bad because we weren't asked to go to war, but you're quite right that Blair tried to stay so close to Bush and Afghanistan and Iraq was a disaster. You needed somebody like Harold Wilson, who back in the 1960s said, Vietnam War, no way, we're not getting involved.
And that was brave, but of course did test that special relationship.
Very much so, yeah.
And let's have a quick look at number 11 in our political bloopers of the year.
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac. Staring at the ceiling.
Oh my word. That was an insomniac called Andrea Jenkyns, Dame Andrea Jenkyns, singing her song that she wrote herself. That's her song. You were there, were you, Claire Ellicott?
I wasn't, sadly.
You weren't there. That was a Reform Party conference in September.
I watched it all. It was an extraordinary moment when she came out on stage.
In that suit?
I know. I don't think anyone knew what to make of it.
I don't think she's going to trouble Britain's Got Talent. Whatever you can say about her, a great singer isn't one of the tributes.
She's game. That's the point. I mean, we so much kind of greyness and beigness about politics. To have a politician walk out singing her own song, that's lifting the gaiety of our politics, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose she's not taking herself too seriously, hopefully, on that. She can take what she does seriously in Lincolnshire, that's fine, you agree or disagree with her, but not herself.
Well,
that performance.
There's more bloopers to come. Claire Ellicott and, of course, Kevin Maguire, thank you. After the break, we'll be dissecting the first 3 months of the year a little bit more.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get us on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to the Year in Politics with my wonderful friends here, Kevin Maguire from the Daily Mirror and Claire Ellicott from the Daily Mail. Let's keep talking about the first months of this year. We heard at the beginning there from Sir Keir Starmer, Claire Ellicott, he wasn't very keen on doing an inquiry into the grooming gangs, the rape gang scandal. He called it a far-right issue. Was that right?
Of course not. You know, Labour wanted to have all these small inquiries and held out for so long for having a big national inquiry. And it was clear that everyone was going in that direction. It was clear that they'd have to compromise with so much support for one. And as usual with Keir Starmer, he didn't see the trouble coming and it left it too late before he agreed. And it was one of the key U-turns of this year, I think.
It was, although Kevin Maguire, he did assemble the evidence and then acted. That shows the caution in our Prime Minister. But maybe other politicians would have piled in, like Ellicott was saying, and ordered that inquiry.
Well, it was referring to Elon Musk decided to tweet about this issue, and then a lot of far-right people jumped on that bandwagon.
Well, who are your far-right there? Are you talking about the Tory party? Because they would really contest that.
He was talking about far-right groups, not the Tory party, but Elon Musk himself, who's the world's richest man, probably the world's most married man as well, and wise he's gone through, who was unaware of the long Alexis J inquiry into child sexual abuse, including grooming gangs. And Keir Starmer himself, when he was Director of Public Prosecutions, changed how that organisation operates to start prosecuting the groomers, because even Andrew Norfolk, the Times journalist who exposed what was going on to a wider audience in Rotherham, acknowledged that Starmer had been very good on this issue. But it ran away from him. That's what happened, because other people who, groomers, I want to see them all in prison. I'm not far right, most people are, but he was talking about Elon Musk at the time. And in the end, he had to concede that national inquiry, and some of the local inquiries will go ahead. But that national inquiry will go over a lot of the ground that is being gone over by the previous inquiry.
Which the Tories didn't act on the J inquiry, did they?
No, they didn't implement any of the recommendations. They sat it. If you remember, Boris Johnson said it was spaffing money up the wall when that inquiry was set up by Theresa May.
That was about this inquiry, was it?
The inquiry that happened, which went on for years, cost millions of pounds. Because if you are a victim of grooming, you're a survivor of grooming, you'll want another inquiry. I get that. But I think what the government has done most effectively is they've asked the police to reopen the cold cases.
And there are hundreds of instances they're looking at.
More than 1,000 they're re-looking at. Get these people, if they're guilty, get them behind bars.
So he's getting there, isn't he, Keir Starmer, with this? But yet again, he's slow to go where the politics went. I mean, Kevin Maguire's saying that clearly, but by about April or May or June, when he finally got going on it, almost the debate had moved on, really, and it was almost priced in there should be an inquiry.
It just looks like he's on the back foot all the time, and there was so much consensus for having a national inquiry, despite, you know, the Alexis J report was very wide-ranging. It wasn't complete.
But the Tories were failing to act on that, weren't they? That's the point.
Of course. And one of the troubles with the grooming gang stories is I covered them when I was a local reporter, and that they were all piecemeal in different places in the UK, and it was hard to see a theme at the time. And Andrew Norfolk from Times, as you mentioned, brought it all together by writing about all of these different court cases. But by now we know it's a big problem, and there is more to say on it.
And latterly, Charlie Peters for GB News, and we were criticised for some of, for going about this. We felt it was a big one that had to be addressed, I think, by our leaders.
It can't be ignored. All rape is wrong.
Of course.
But there is evidence in 3 counties, South and West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester, there was a predominantly British-Pakistani element to group sex exploitation.
Yeah. Also, we saw, didn't we, in this first 3 months of the year, the emergence of the big story of the year, which is Reform UK. They've now led, I think, over 150 polls by Christmas, Claire Ellicott, and they took the lead, didn't they, at the back end of this first 3 months?
Yes, and it's completely upended politics. We have 5 MPs who control most of the news agenda now, and it's very difficult for newspapers who are used to looking at the Tories or Labour. It's now Reform. Actually, the Greens are quite a big deal now. Yep. But the rise of Reform has undoubtedly been the story of 2025.
Quite extraordinary. Kevin Maguire, have you ever seen anything like it? You're greyer than I am in your...
I remember the SDP, with Roy Jenkyns and Shirley Williams and others. Back in the 80s, before the 1983 general election, they looked like they were the big things sweeping all before. They faded. It feels a little different now, because I think there's this atomisation and a breakdown in the two-party system. There's no doubt since that crossover, I think it was the beginning of April, then the Runcorn by-election was won, next 6 votes.
Well, extraordinary. I mean, it really is extraordinary, isn't it? No one saw this coming. We have almost seen the end of two-party politics. If these polls are believed, will it last?
Well, that's the real question, and you have seen Nigel Farage running into a few difficulties of late. The Guardian has been reporting non-stop on racist allegations about him from his time at school. There's some trouble with some of his election spending. There are lots of questions, but whether or not that halts their rise, who knows?
We'll wait and see. Claire Ellicott, Kevin Maguire, thank you. Here's our next Christmas blooper.
Because the Tories literally cover this country in We are the disinfectant that is going to clean that mess up.
Sorry about the language there, but we bleeped it out. That was Steve Reed, the Housing Secretary, unhappy about how the issue of the sewage and the lack of ability of the government to, the Tory government really, and now Labour picking it up, or dealing with the issue of sewage in our rivers. That has cut through that issue, hasn't it? I mean, the Lib Dems made a lot of it in the election last year. Now Labour's piling into it.
No, absolutely. And Fergal Sharkey, the rock stars, made it.
The undertones, I think.
It's a quality of, it was the undertone. It's the quality of life issues, and these matters. And yes, the economy is hugely important. Everybody needs money and public services, but water is a public service too. And if you've got a river or your seashore is covered in poo, that's just it shouldn't be the case.
For me, Claire Ellicott, the truth is the government privatised the water industry, and to ensure support for that, they kept bills down. I think that meant that there was less investment in the infrastructure by water companies, and now we are where we are. So now we're kind of going back to where we were, and bills are going to go up to pay for this work.
They're going to go up hugely, and Steve Reed also said off what was being abolished because it's done such a terrible job of regulating the industry. Bills are already high for water. They're going to basically have to redo loads of infrastructure to stop this issue happening. And one of the problems with the sewage issue is it's more closely monitored, which is why we know there's so many more spillages. But for ordinary British people, you just expect your water to be clean, and the fact that it's not is a metaphor for something
Billions
greater.
of pounds are being siphoned out of that industry. It should never have been privatised. It should be back in public ownership. Labour won't do it, and Reform are backing away from it now.
It'd be too expensive. The Greens might want to do it. I'm not sure. Maybe they
don't care about green issues.
We'll wait and see. Claire Ellicott. Ken Maguire, thank you. More after the break. Stay tuned.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're off on a post-Christmas break to the Western Mediterranean, then do prepare yourselves for some pretty unsettled weather over the next few days. Parts of Spain and Portugal will see some very heavy rain and also some gusty winds, so temperatures below average, potentially even some mountain snow across parts of southern Spain. Unsettled for the Balearic Islands as well, and perhaps also Corsica, but most of Italy, Greece and parts of the Balkans seeing a much sunnier interlude compared to of late. There will be some mountain snow across the north of Turkey as well, though, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we move into the weekend, there's not going to be a great deal of change. It's going to stay largely dry for most of us. There will be more in the way of cloud, though, compared to recent days, with the best of the sunshine in the west. It's all thanks to this large area of high pressure dominating this weekend, keeping it dry and settled for the vast majority. Back to this evening then, and generally it's a fairly cloudy end to Boxing Day across parts of Wales and southern and southwestern parts of England. Also quite cloudy across the northeast of Scotland and some northeastern parts of England as well. Even the odd spit and spot of light rain or drizzle later in the night. And so temperatures actually rising towards the morning in some places here, but where skies do stay clear elsewhere, we will see a fairly widespread frost and temperatures perhaps down to -2 or -3 in the coldest spots. But across more northern parts of Scotland, here, as I say, temperatures will rise towards the end of the night, and we could see a little bit of drizzle moving into parts of Moray and parts of Aberdeenshire by the end of the night. A glorious start to the day, though, across many western parts of Scotland. Unbroken sunshine here. A cold, frosty and sunny start to the day across Northern Ireland and northwest England, and a mixture of cloud and sunny spells elsewhere across more southern regions of England and Wales. As we go through the morning on Saturday, the winds will start to strengthen. It will turn quite breezy once again in the south of the UK, and over the hills and the mountains of Wales and the southwest, we could see gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour through the afternoon, and the sunshine will become confined to more southwestern parts of the UK. The cloud encroaching elsewhere, bringing some patchy rain and drizzle in from the North Sea, particularly to eastern Scotland and northeast England. As we move into Sunday, it's generally going to be cloudier for most parts of the UK. Frost generally limited to parts of Scotland, and here is where we like to see the best of the sunshine through the day on Sunday, with some nice light winds around here, but potentially some freezing fog patches in the central lowlands. The dry and settle theme continues as we go through the next few days into next week, a mixture of cloud and sunny spells for some of us.
Thank you to our global community for watching and listening to GB News. We're not only the #1 news channel in Britain, we're chosen by you around the world.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A83 is facing restrictions in both directions at Locknell Street, Loch Gilphead due to emergency roadworks. On the A55, a speed limit of 30 miles per hour is enforced at Britannia Bridge until further notice. In Norfolk, there has been a road traffic collision on the A11 northbound between the junctions with the A1075 and the A47, with all lanes currently closed. Normal traffic conditions are expected between 8 and 8:15 this evening, anticipated to resolve by 8:03. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Caledonian sleeper services are experiencing no service. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Daddy has to sometimes use strong language to get the stuff.
Strong language. Every once in a while you have to use a certain word.
Well, that was an awkward moment, wasn't it? Of course, Mark Rutte from NATO trying to butter up Donald Trump, the president. Not easy, is it, Kevin Maguire? Because world leaders are trying to work out how to deal with a guy who is, as critics say, behaving like a monarch, ruling by divine right.
Yeah, a monarch who's a man toddler. And so how do you deal with him? And of course, they all demean themselves and they have to flatter and use childish talk.
He's bringing peace to the world, Kevin Maguire.
Yeah, of course. Was it 400 people have died in Gaza since the ceasefire was declared, ending a war between Thailand and Cambodia? The bombing is going on. Ukraine, the killing hasn't stopped. I don't think there was a war between Ethiopia and Egypt for him to halt, but nevertheless, look, I mean, the bloke's unhinged. Trump is unhinged. That is the starting point.
He wants peace in the world. He's seeing all the killing. He wants to end it. Why don't you want to back him on that?
Peace in the world. It's a time of peace, but he doesn't make peace, does he?
Claire Ellicott, is that unfair?
Well, I think if you look at his results, it's not going that well. I think the whole world is sort of on tenterhooks waiting to see what happens in Ukraine and the Middle East. You know, he had some success, but Ukraine is painful for people in Britain and Europe to watch because we know how strong Russia is and we know how we're all fully supportive of Zelensky, and it's painful to watch Trump back.
Claire Ellicott, of course, and Kevin Maguire, thank you. Let's have a look at what happened in the next 3 months of this year.
April started with Parliament being recalled on a Saturday to save British steel.
It's fundamental to Britain's industrial strength, to our security and to our identity as a primary global power. Today's legislation will help ensure that we can retain that steelmaking capability here in the UK, both now and for years to come.
And talking of steel, the UK managed to bag the first deal of the US trade war, where British cars and metals could be exported to the US with a tariff of 10%.
There won't be any red tape. Things are going to move very quickly both ways. The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one.
Really important deal. This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs but create jobs, opening market access.
The government was hoping for a 0% tariff on steel, but for now, that will have to wait. As the weather improved and the parties were gearing up for the local elections,
Mr. Speaker, the mask has slipped just 1 week before the elections because the Shadow Justice Secretary is not here. A man who's doing everything he can to replace her. The man that most of them want as leader of their party has admitted that Reform and the Tories are working together.
Kevin Badenoch said there'd be no coalition with Reform, although she did change her tune towards the European Convention on Human Rights.
It is clear that the ECHR is a major issue. I'm not asking Lord Wolfson if we should leave. That's a political, not a legal question. I'm asking him to set out how we would leave and to consider what the unintended consequences might be.
Reform won big at the May local elections, taking control of 10 councils and winning 4 in 10 of the council seats on offer, as well as winning 2 mayoralties. And the party also grabbed the by-election in Runcorn and Helsby by just 6 votes. Those inside of Labour could see that the most damning problem facing the party during the elections was the much-hated withdrawal of the winter fuel allowance from millions of pensioners.
What I do want to reassure your viewers are, though, that look, we did notice the results last Thursday. I think voters have sent us a very loud and clear message that unless we deliver the change they voted for last year, they will look for change elsewhere.
But the Prime Minister wasn't budging, or so he thought.
Today I can announce that this winter 9 million pensioners will now receive the winter fuel payment.
But Labour wasn't the only party in a degree of chaos. New Reform UK MP Sarah Pochin asked the following question at Prime Minister's Questions.
Will he, in the interests of public safety, follow the lead of France, Denmark, Belgium and others and ban the burqa?
Which prompted fury from the party's chairman and eventually his resignation, only for him to unresign a couple of days later.
Sometimes it takes a little distance from someone or something for you to realise how important something is. And so those things coming together just made me realise, look, I'd made a mistake.
Gosh, can you keep up with all this? Anyway, the big issue of migration remained. The government had floated the idea of return hubs, and it was in Albania where they confirmed to me for GB News the plan.
What now we want to do, and we're having discussions on, talks on, is return hubs, which is where someone's been through the system in the UK, they need to be returned, and we have to make sure they're returned effectively, and we'll do that if we can through return hubs.
Only Albania wouldn't be one of them.
I have been very clear since day one when we started this process with Italy that this was a one-off.
Back in London, Sir Keir Starmer agreed a Brexit reset deal.
And this deal is a win-win. It delivers what the British public voted for last year.
And most importantly,
not a single additional fish
can be taken out of British waters.
So with all that, the government have managed 3 trade deals with India, the United States of America and the European Union. But with all that success abroad, their problems were just starting at home, as Labour rebellion of backbench MPs was brewing over the plans to cut disability benefits.
And I knew that by me resigning, I was saying at that point in time, I couldn't vote for what was being suggested, and it was very difficult.
But we'll tell you how that ended a bit later.
There we have it. We're back in the studio here with Claire Ellicott and, of course, Kevin Maguire. Now, those local elections, Claire Ellicott, were extraordinary, weren't they? Look at that, 10 councils for Reform UK, 677 seats, Tories down by 674 seats. I mean, extraordinary. It looks like they're taking all the support from Reform, but Labour also down by 187, losing a council. It was the moment, I think, when the Reform issue became a reality for Westminster.
It was the moment, it was the moment that Reform looked like they might form the next government. Yeah. You saw them, because before that you were able to talk up, people were dissatisfied with Labour, they were furious with the Tories after years of crisis and drama. But at that point, when they picked up all those local elections, that was the groundwork for actually building a government and getting MPs and forming a new government. So I think it was the time everyone sat up and really took Reform seriously and realised that, they would play a key part in the next election, if not the next.
Well, they might do. Kevin Maguire, Labour are worried.
They are, although Labour's losing more votes to the Greens and the Liberal Democrats on its left flank than it is on its right flank. But you're right, Labour are rightly worried about Reform because they are also losing some votes that way. But I think Nigel Farage's local authority triumphs, they were real. They're also a moment of weakness because we're discovering they seem to have a disproportionate number of, should we call them oddballs? And then you're finding out that there aren't loads of diversity officers to sack. And when you get down to the business of delivering services, Reform, they're proposing to close care homes, put up council tax by the maximum.
Is it the case, as Kevin Maguire is saying, that a lot of council policies are actually mandated by the state and you can't cut them? So there's a very limited amount of spending cuts you can do and an actual choice you can make in local government.
This is one of the troubles with Reform picking up all these seats and growing in support and having increasing scrutiny, that all of these things that they say they want to do are actually really hard to do. It's really hard to trim spending. No one's managed to do it no government of any stripes managed to do it. It's really hard to do, and whether, a lot of their appeal rests on some of the promises they've made to the public, whether or not they can deliver on them.
We'll wait and see. You mentioned the Greens, Kevin Maguire. I should say they won 0 councils and 0 gains. So you mentioned the Greens pushing forward, but really that's a back end of this year's story. I mean, back then the Greens were nowhere, weren't they?
Zach Polanski, the eco-populist, I think
he wasn't there.
I think he's more red than green, former Liberal Democrat, was an actor back in the day, but he's transformed them in the polls standing.
But so quickly, that's the point.
Absolutely astonishing. Now, will he be a shooting star? Will he fade?
We don't know.
We'll wait and see.
And many have been saying about Nigel Farage. Of course, the Runcorn by-election happened. That was won by Sarah Poaching by just 6 votes. That was a real moment for this challenger party, beating off the two main parties to a seat.
No, it's a very small margin, but they matter.
They all count.
She's another former Conservative. She gets into Parliament. What does she say the big issue is in Runcorn and Helsby? Face fails. Come on.
Well,
that's just not...
To that point, exactly, Kate Ellicott, she found herself in some trouble, didn't she, by saying the burger should be banned. And that prompted Zia Youssef, the party's, I think he was chairman then, but he was now something else in the party. But he resigned and unresigned himself in about 4 days.
That was an extraordinary moment because they just picked up an MP. They just lost Rupert Lowe, hadn't they? And then suddenly you've got Zia Youssef quitting, and it did make Reform look like it wasn't a controlled operation going forward.
What do you make of that?
Too many black faces in TV adverts, and then she got vanished. It reminded me of what used to happen in the old Soviet Union. Airbrushed out of pictures.
That's not fair, Kevin Maguire. These are people who aren't tried and tested politicians like yourself. They're trying to find their way on the national stage.
She was a Conservative for a long time.
She was talking about DEI issues with advertising, and it came up completely wrongly.
Chris, she was a Conservative politician for a long time, and if you're complaining about too many black faces in adverts, I'm wondering what that tells you about the inner...
Listen, she defended herself on those remarks, but what do you make of this? These are these aren't, maybe voters quite like the fact they're not kind of polished politicians like Kevin might want to see nowadays.
Perhaps, but Nigel Farage has spent a long time trying to detoxify his brand and making sure that he comes across as, you know, somebody who could be Britain's next Prime Minister. So it's really unhelpful to him when Sarah Potin says things like that, and then he has to go out in a press conference and defend her without also saying that she's
he
wrong.
was cross, wasn't he?
Authentic, not polished.
That's what I mean.
But when they're authentic, they sometimes say pretty ugly things that you don't like.
Wait and see. Okay.
Or like.
Claire Ellicott and Kevin Maguire, thank you. OK, short break, we'll be back.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We are almost at the end of the first show of our year's review in politics with Kevin Maguire and, of course, Claire Ellicott. Kevin Maguire, the winter fuel U-turn, deeply embarrassing for the Chancellor. Let's remind viewers what happened there, of course. So we're going to remove the winter fuel payment for so many millions of pensioners, only leaving it for those on pension credit. The U-turn means that if you're on a salary of up to £35,000 a year, you do get it after all. I mean, what can you say about this? Rachel Reeves's reputation was badly damaged by that.
Yeah, well, I think it was badly damaged by taking it away in the first place. 3 weeks into the Labour government, it was one of those issues that defined it, and it was catastrophic.
Happened in July 2024.
Yeah. Huge error, because there were many people on small occupational pensions who'd worked all their lives, were now going to go over a cliff and lose their £200 or £300. the U-turn, it was the correct thing to do, although she should have not brought in that means testing because people will still lose out. She should have done it much earlier, but it was correcting a mistake that should have been avoided in the first place. You're right. Yeah, it shot.
And why are they making these errors? I mean, can they blame the so-called black hole they found or identified from the Tory party?
Yeah, there was an element at the beginning on the 1.4 billion, but I think they thought people would say if we take away the winter fuel the winter fuel allowance from people on reasonably good money, then that'll be welcomed. But of course, they took it away from people. If you had an occupational pension of 20 quid a week, you were going to lose it all. You're not well off. And if you've got a full state pension, you've paid national insurance for 35 years of your life. It was a terrible error. I think she just wanted to show she was tough at the time. And she was tough on herself and tough on the Labour government. That's what she was. It's
gone away, though. We cut to Christmas this year. No one's talking about this issue, are they?
Well,
so it has worked, Claire Ellicott.
Well, because she's reversed it, but I think it was one of the first times where we saw the shine come off, and, you know, it's bad optics, as they say in politics, to take money off old people, however much
because they vote.
Yes, they vote Tory often, and perhaps Reform in the next election, but nevertheless, loads of those newly elected Labour MPs did not get into politics to start taking money off old people to pay for their heating bills. So it was just really uncomfortable. I think Rachel Reeves was trying to send a signal to the markets that she was serious about cutting spending, and they thought means testing winter fuel allowance and taking it away would be a good signal. But the realities are, I think, that they've not saved any money. It costs so much to means test these things that, you know,
frittered away the political capital, I think, from the election.
Squandered it.
They really have, haven't they? I mean, now we are where we are.
But if you think they won this huge parliamentary majority on only 34% of the vote. That's around 1 in 3 people who voted. On a 60% turnout, that was about 20% of the electorate. So only 1 in 5 of the country had actually voted for them.
Yeah, they had to win round hearts and minds.
You alienate so many
The one thing they did do, though, which the left might like, Kevin Maguire, is taking back control of British steel from the Chinese.
Yeah, up in Scunthorpe, that plant in serious trouble.
It's a virgin steel plant, vital virgin steel.
Yeah, we've got to hang on, I think, as a country to Port Talbot in South Wales and Scunthorpe in the Lincolnshire. It was the right thing to do. I think full nationalisation into public ownership would have been cleaner, but of course governments are very wary of angering private owners, particularly if you're Chinese, because there might be retaliation.
China's a whole different conversation, but I think even Reform UK supported this one, didn't they? Again, we saw the difference. I'm not sure where the Tories were on nationalisation, but certainly Reform UK were pushing very hard for it, weren't they, on Scunthorpe?
Yes, I think actually the real story about British Steel was actually a security issue. It was more about China than anything else, but it played well to Labour's, you know, we're the party of industry strengths. But the real issue was you had a Chinese firm running the only British virgin steel plant in the UK, and the only way that we could continue being a manufacturing country and being able to stand on our own 2 feet if something terrible happened would be to have that.
What's changed, I think, really, is these things matter. Having our own way to produce virgin steel matters, doesn't it, in an uncertain world, in a way it didn't in the old days.
It's a basic part of your economy. You don't want to be losing your manufacturing base. I think it's tragedy that so much of it was sold off, both privatised and then sold overseas in decades that have gone by.
Under all governments.
Yes.
Yeah. Kevin Maguire, Claire Ellicott, thank you, of course. Let's have a look at our next 2 Christmas bloopers.
The flower of their resistance. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao.
Oh, it's not on the same page.
6, 7. Yeah. 6, 7. Everybody. 6, 7. Are you doing page 6, 7?
We're not over that yet. We're not over that. Still very much a thing.
See you later. That's a bit wild.
Stuff for that lovely 6, 7. You know, children get into trouble for saying that in maths school.
Oh, do they?
So there we are. This is a 6, 7 thing. I mean, miss me completely. 6, 7. I mean, yeah.
It's kind of meaningless. It's just making a joke. Kids
going. What does it even mean? Do you know what it means? Something to do with American sport?
Yeah.
I googled it, and
what is it?
It's a way of annoying adults. Adults girls are baffled by this weird thing children do, and they do it just to annoy the teachers. That's why it's bad.
Yeah, it used to be, look at that, talk to the hand, got some face in, listening. That's it.
Now, we had thought, we were being annoyed, that Keir Starmer might be annoyed by your party setting up. But they've set up, and they've been so chaotic. That's why we saw them clapping. They weren't clapping in tune at all. I think Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn not actually being in tune when they were clapping.
It's a case of real life and killing political satire, because they kind of all hate each other.
But is it always the story of the left, or the left of left?
Or the right. I mean,
the right.
Look at Reform. There's two MPs sitting in Parliament who were with Reform and not anymore. That's why they're still 5 and not 7. But on the left here, you've got Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn, who are clearly at odds. It's a party that's voted not to have a leader or even a dual leader. It's going to have like a collective leadership, which won't be any of the leaders. 2 of the MPs who are going to join it have
walked away.
But it can still be a threat to Labour, because if it takes 5 to 10% of the vote, that vote would come from Labour or the Greens. So in marginal constituencies, it can make a difference. Without winning many seats, it can cost Labour MPs their seats.
Claire, a worry for Labour, despite the fact they've got a clumsy start by your party.
I think what Kevin was saying about them being effective in some constituencies is a real problem, because West Streeting only won his seat by 500 odd votes, and the next election he could be really vulnerable to any of these pro-Gaza candidates, which is the only thing that unites your party members.
Just going back to that telling off of the Prime Minister by that teacher, his reaction was quite genuine, I thought. I mean, it was. He was being told off for you to do it. I think a lot of us we're privileged to see the Keir Starmer, the private Keir Starmer. He's quite a decent man, right?
But there is a decent man in.
Yes, but the internet just can't. A lot of the internet, the social media, just can't stand him. And how do they make that decent individual at the heart of Keir Starmer connect with people better?
It's very difficult. I remember Gordon Brown had the same problem. Then in 2010, lost the election, leaving Downing Street with his kids, and everyone said, "What a lovely bloke." They haven't been seeing that on the internet. I mean,
well, they were kept secret. The children were for privacy reasons. We hadn't seen them at all until they walked out in 2010.
Politicians, can use their kids if they wish, but there is a problem, because on social media it's kind of love or hate. And everyone's saying, nobody's thinking, that because all my mates are saying this. Yeah, that's because you're just with all your mates.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer, how they crack that, because he gets on well with people when he meets them. Not always adult workers who are thinking, why am I standing here in a factory as your backdrop, but certainly a school or something like that.
It does, and it does matter, Claire Ellicott. We saw at the beginning of this programme about West Streeting joking about, man in a mood and just connecting with people with a joke, almost shooting himself out of the ambush about his leadership ambition. I'm going to own this one and won't be taken down by this. How does he channel a bit of Wes is a question for Keir Starmer this next year.
I mean, that whole row, that number 10 briefing war where they were briefing the Prime Minister will fight for his job, West Streeting's, organising behind the scenes, that entirely played to West Streeting's strengths. He's a funny guy. He came up with a line about the traitors, the nation laughed, and Keir looked weak. And it's interesting to see, you see Keir and Wes sometimes give speeches at the same time, and Wes is so much more compelling. It's so interesting to listen to. But the trouble for Keir,
journos like him. He's
person.
Good copy for journalists.
It's great.
He's engaging. The problem Keir Starmer has, and it happens to a lot of people when they become Prime Minister, you put on a suit and you think you've got to defend yourself all the time, and then the human part cannot be on show.
Is the problem with Wes Streeting that MPs like him, but the membership base don't like him as much as Angela Rayner, for example?
Yes, except the Labour went from electing as leader Jeremy Corbyn to Keir Starmer. I could easily see them electing Wes Streeting, because a lot of people would say, whatever my political differences are with him, I'll hold me nose if I think he's going to be a winner.
That's a question just finally to you, Claire. Is he the winner they need to have in this party next year, maybe?
Well, received wisdom about Wes is that he's too far right in the party and that the membership will never vote for him. And classically...
By far right, what does that mean, by the way, with Labour?
Far right, probably just liberal a bit, I don't know. But he's too far to the right of the Labour Party, and so it'll never wash with members, because in a leadership challenge, they'll always pick the lowest left-wing candidate. But there was a poll the other day of Labour members which put Wes second, and...
Behind
who was it? Was it Ed Miliband? It was Ed Miliband.
Actually, the Labour members always pick the most left-wing because Rebecca Long-Bailey, remember her, and Lisa Nandy were to the left of Starmer last time and he won.
Yes, well, listen, it's been great to have you both on this review of the year. Thank you to my guests, Kevin Maguire and Claire Ellicott, for joining us. GB News viewers, don't go anywhere. We've still got the back end of the year to go in our Year in Politics review, only on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we move into the weekend, there's not going to be a great deal of change. It's going to stay largely dry for most of us. There will be more in the way of cloud, though, compared to recent days, with the best of the sunshine in the west. It's all thanks to this large area of high pressure dominating this weekend, keeping it dry and settled for the vast majority. Back to this evening then, and generally it's a fairly cloudy end to Boxing Day across parts of Wales and southern and southwestern parts of England. Also quite cloudy across the northeast of Scotland and some northeastern parts of England as well. Even the odd spit and spot of light rain or drizzle later in the night. And so temperatures actually rising towards the morning in some places here, but where skies do stay clear elsewhere, we will see a fairly widespread frost and temperatures perhaps down to -2 or -3 in the coldest spots. But across more northern parts of Scotland, here, as I say, temperatures will rise towards the end of the night, and we could see a little bit of drizzle moving into parts of Moray and parts of Aberdeenshire by the end of the night. A glorious start to the day, though, across many western parts of Scotland. Unbroken sunshine here. A cold, frosty and sunny start to the day across Northern Ireland and northwest England, and a mixture of cloud and sunny spells elsewhere across more southern regions of England and Wales. As we go through the morning on Saturday, the winds will start to strengthen. It will turn quite breezy once again in the south of the UK, and over the hills and the mountains of Wales and the southwest, we could see gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour through the afternoon, and the sunshine will become confined to more southwestern parts of the UK. The cloud encroaching elsewhere, bringing some patchy rain and drizzle in from the North Sea, particularly to eastern Scotland and northeast England. As we move into Sunday, it's generally going to be cloudier for most parts of the UK. Frost generally limited to parts of Scotland, and here is where we like to see the best of the sunshine through the day on Sunday, with some nice light winds around here, but potentially some freezing fog patches in the central lowlands. The dry and settled theme continues as we go through the next few days into next week, a mixture of cloud and sunny spells for some of us.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 10 million followers across social media. We are truly honoured to have your trust, one follower at a time.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A83 is restricted in both directions at Locknell Street, Loch Gilphead, due to emergency roadworks requiring careful navigation. Traffic also affects both directions on the A487 from Llanrhystr to Aberavon, with diversions managing the disruption. In Norfolk, all lanes on the A11 northbound are closed due to a collision between the junctions with the A1075 and the A47. Normal traffic conditions are anticipated between 8:15 and 8:30 this evening. And on the trains, there is no service from Avanti West Coast and the Caledonian Sleeper, which may impact travel plans. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This Christmas, we're giving you the chance to win our biggest cash prize of the year. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. And we've come to the fabulously festive Aurora Collection Resort here in Lapland to celebrate. £85,000 of tax-free cash really could be yours.
For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. Tonight on the show we have political commentator Andy Twelves. We have Dr. Lisa McKenzie and former Tory MP Heather Wheeler. In the Real World, Real People, we've got Graham Link from Ashfield. And also on the show tonight is broadcaster Tony Delahunty. But first, let's go to the news.
Good evening. Your headlines at 7 o'clock. One of the two men missing off the Devon coast following a Christmas Day swim has been named as Matthew Upham. Mr. Upham's family said in an Instagram post that they were heartbroken by the loss. The 63-year-old antiques dealer and another man in his 40s went missing after being swept out to sea in Budleigh Salterton, with the Coast Guard calling off its search last night. The police are urging the public to avoid Boxing Day swims amid cold weather health alerts. Ukraine's President Zelensky is reportedly ready to call a referendum on Donald Trump's peace plan if Russia agrees to a ceasefire. It comes after Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed he will be meeting with the US president on Sunday. Meanwhile, Donald Trump says the US has carried out a powerful and deadly strike on what he called the Islamic State scum in Nigeria. The US president took coordinated action with Nigeria's military after accusing the group of persecuting Christians in the region. Hunt supporters have vowed to fight Sir Keir Starmer's plan to ban trail hunting as thousands gathered to watch the traditional Boxing Day meetings. The government's plan to ban trail hunting under their animal welfare strategy published shortly before Christmas. Trail hunting means hounds follow a pre-laid scent instead of chasing a live animal, but critics argue the sport is being used as a smokescreen for illegal hunting. And following the King's Christmas address to the country, Buckingham Palace have posted a behind-the-scenes look at how it all came together. They said thank you to the talented and creative team that brought the King's Christmas broadcast to life. In his message, the King called on communities to pull together in an increasingly divided world and urged people to get to know our neighbours. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you in an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World Christmas Special. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield, and joining me on the show tonight we've got Dr. Lisa McKenzie, former Tory Minister Heather Wheeler, and Andy Twelves. Is it Andy Twelves? Looks like he's had a shave actually. Political commentator. So guys, before we start, did you all have a nice Christmas? That's enough of that rubbish. Anyway, let's get straight on. No, let's be serious for 1 minute, because we're going to talk about a really serious topic today, and that is grooming gangs again. We've seen recently a new report, a new statement in the House just last week on the violence against women and girls in this country. It's a really serious subject, guys, and I've always been of the mind, whilst I've been involved in politics, that some areas in this country, Andy, have covered this awful crime up, and it always tends to be in northern and midland towns where we have Labour councillors, Labour MPs and Labour mayors. Am I onto something here?
I think you are. I don't think it's necessarily the Labour Party as an institution. I think in those areas there are lots of factors, and it's disgraceful. I think any normal member of the Labour Party would tell you that.
Heather?
It's really strange how this has been going on for so many years, and getting this report sorted out, Louise Casey really shone a light on it. Yeah. And I abhor the fact that it's just taken so long to get this national inquiry going. So for goodness sakes, let's crack on with it, please.
I think Louise Casey really did shine a light on this, and she's changed the conversation, because up until Louise Casey, the conversation was, oh, it's a general problem. Let's not be racist. Let's not go down this route. She's changed the conversation